أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. My dear elders, brothers, sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's an honor again to have been invited to come and speak on this auspicious Thursday night. So just a clarification again, I'm not here to teach, but I'm here to share. I don't qualify to be teaching, but a few topics that fascinate me, that I found interesting, or that I find interesting. I think it's worth sharing that this is, I think, an ideal platform to do that. So when I was blessed to go to Iran in the year 2017, December, for a short course organized by Babu Rida. Babu Rida is a group of Hausa students who have come together. They've been in Iran for some time, and on an yearly basis they organize a short course. So just like you have big bars of chocolate, and then you have the small bite-sized chocolates. So similarly, it comes to Hausa studies. Hausa studies are long, as you know, people who go there 6 years, 8 years, 14 years, 20 years, and they just don't want to come back. But then Babu Rida offered the small bite-sized course. So intensive 3-week course, whereby they expose you to the different branches of the Hausa studies that the students go through. Not only that, but you get a taste of the Hausa environment, just being there in Iran. And then you get a chance to visit scholars, and you rub your shoulders with the other students around. So in 3 weeks, intensive course along with ziyarah. So anybody who is interested, or sometimes we have questions in our mind, okay, is this the right line for me? Should I be going into religious studies? This is a good course to just get a feel and make a decision. No, you just want to light, you just want a spark to motivate you to get into religious studies. This is an ideal course, and I would definitely recommend it. So while I was there, many courses, small courses, 1-hour courses, fiqh, aqaid, tarikh, akhlaq. So we had short courses all over. One of the best topics that I got to go through, and it was a topic that was full of light bulb moments. So when they start talking, you feel, I never thought of this. And it was a heavily researched topic. And it was Islamic civilization, talking about Islamic civilization. So I know the topic today is worldview. So worldview comes under Islamic civilization. So just briefly discussing about civilization. Civilization is basically, it's a complex human society, usually made up of maybe different cities, not geographically isolated. It could be spread around the world, but they share the same civilization. They could be having different characteristics of cultural and technological development. Okay, this is how National Geographic defines it. So it's basically a human system. Okay, they have specific ideologies, and they have a specific cultural system, And it comprises of many other sub-subjects or subtopics. So one, of course, is the belief. They have a specific belief system that they share. They have a specific political system that they share, a family system, education system, manners, etiquettes, economy, art, culture, social norms, science and technology, language, military, entertainment, all this comes under civilization. So I'll be focusing on the belief part. But just to introduce this topic, this worldview with whatever is happening around the world, whatever we've gone through. So the COVID crisis that we went through, the political turmoil that we are going through, it's fascinating to see how different people look at it. So when you talk to analysts, when you listen to analysts, how they look at it, and then you see how the media wants us to look at it. So they're forcing it down our throat, that we want you to look at it this way. And how the scholars look at it. So worldview basically is defined as the way you look at the world. Simple words, the way you look at the world, how you interpret events that are happening around the world. This is just the tip of the iceberg. It's not as simple as the definition goes. It's just the tip of the iceberg, but it's attached to a lot more things below it. So if you want to change a person's worldview, you can't just talk to him and convince him. No, there's so many more things that it's attached to until you can change his worldview. So when I was in Iran, in this course, they introduced us to this. He said, your worldview depends on your beliefs. You only see what you know. So whatever you believe in, that will determine your worldview. So that's where Iman comes in. And then, based on your beliefs, so top, the iceberg is your worldview. Below that, you have your belief. So worldview depends on belief. And based on your belief, you'll have your values in life. What is right and what is wrong. So your belief will guide you as to what is right and what is wrong in life. Based on your values, you will have your actions. So you will not act outside your values. So when you're acting in life, you know what is right, what is wrong. Obviously, you will do the right things, avoid the wrong things. So your actions depend on your values. And then, of course, you have your symbols. So this is theory. We'll go through the examples. But they gave us a Quranic verse, Surah Ibrahim, verse number 24. A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. So God gives us this example. Alam tara kayfa daraba Allah mathalan kalimatan tayyibatan ka shajaratin tayyiba asluha thabitun wa far'uha fis sama. Have you not considered how Allah presents an example? A good word or a good civilization in that way is like a good tree whose root is firmly fixed and its branches are high up in the sky. Then the verse goes on, تُؤْتِي أُكُلَهَا كُلَّ حِينٍ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهَا وَيَضْرِبُ اللَّهُ الْأَمْثَالَ لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. It produces its fruit all the time by permission of its Lord, and Allah presents examples for the people that perhaps they may be reminded. So if you consider civilization as a tree, so the roots are the belief system. The branches are the values and the systems, and the fruits are the symbols. So symbols are the ones that attract you to this civilization. It's a way of the civilization showing itself to the world. It's a way of attracting others to that particular civilization. So example is Fir'aun. Fir'aun, the belief system was Ana Rabbukumul A'la. He said, I am the one who provides everything. So people under him had to believe that he is the provider of everything. That was their belief system. Based on that, they had the values. If you serve Fir'aun, that is good. If you go against him, that is bad. So the famous story of the magicians, for as long as they were serving Fir'aun, it was good. The moment they did sajda to the Lord of Musa and Harun, now you're bad, and they were crucified. The actions based on those values. The whole of Egypt started serving Fir'aun. Because of that belief system and those values, the whole of Egypt started serving Fir'aun. And the symbols were pyramids and the Sphinx that we see till today. So these are the symbols of Egypt, Fir'auni symbols. Coming to today's time. So I don't want to divert from the topic. As I said, worldview depends on so many things below it. Whatever you believe in, whatever are your values, whatever are your actions, whatever your symbols are, determine your worldview as to how you look at the world. So present day, the Western civilization that we have in front of us, a liberal society, believe what you want, okay? And the symbols are order and discipline. If you go to Western society, although that is changing very fast with the shootings that we saw 2 days back or yesterday, but everything is in order. There is discipline, the government system, the bus system, okay? That is how they attract people to their civilization. Their personalities that they present. So the football stars and the actors, okay, those are the fruits that they give out to attract people. The social system, democracy, and the civilized political arena, and the products and outputs, the gadgets that they give out, these are all their symbols. If you take the example of the Holy Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. When he came in, the belief system was Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. And the values that came with that was halal and haram. Then the actions and the social system that came with it, an organized Islamic ummah based on halal and haram. So everybody acted according to that, Islamic justice. And the Islamic symbols that came about. So the actions, the symbols that came about, husnul khulq. Everybody had a good akhlaq around. For example, in Medina. The personalities as form of the fruits. So the imams themselves, the ulamas, the shuhada, they all became the symbols of an Islamic ummah. The social system, the fruits. Political, economic, social welfare system that existed in Medina. And the product output, the mosques, hijab, Islamic architecture, these are all the symbols. So if you've understood this, then we know where the Islamic ummah is heading today. When we talk of the ulamas, we understand where do they want to take the Islamic ummah and how do they want the ummah to look at the world. Now the Western people, when they wanted to attack, so the sequence usually is from top down. You have the belief, you have the values, you have the actions, and you have the symbols. They realized that if you attack a person's belief, the backlash is very big. So for example, the cartoons that were published regarding the Prophet, or satanic verses, for example, the book, the backlash was just too much. And usually they back off very fast. There's a lot of uproar. So now they've changed their tactics a bit. He says, don't attack their beliefs, but start from down. Start attacking the symbols. If you attack the symbols, gradually the actions will change. If the actions change, gradually the values will change. And once the values change, it doesn't take time for the belief to change. The moment the belief changes, their worldview will also change, and they'll be yours. So a good example is hijab, for example. If you start taking the hijab issue, tell a person hijab is not necessary. And we have women amongst us, no, hijab is not necessary. My heart is clean, But the moment that happens, after a while, the actions, because of lack of hijab, also change. And because of that, after the actions change, the values also change. And then it doesn't take time for the belief to change. And we've seen examples. And the moment your belief changes, your worldview will also change. Similarly, our mujtahideen, for example, they are our symbols, the ulamas. So if you attack the belief system, there will be an uproar. But no, you attack the mujtahideen. These ulamas, who are there, sitting in that corner of Najaf or Qom. Make your own decisions, After a while, because you've disregarded that big symbol as an alim, gradually your actions will change. And once your actions change, your values will change. Once your values change, it doesn't take long for your belief to change. And once your belief changes, your worldview will also change. So what are the different worldviews that are existing just now in the world? I went through a research paper. So they broadly divided into two. One thought process says, they look at the world this way. They say, whatever we see of the world is reality. Whatever we see the world in front of us, that is reality. And that is the only world. There is no world after that. So through that you have naturalism. Naturalism is a worldview. That this is what we have in front of us. Through that you have materialism, atheism, scientific naturalism, scientific reductionism. These are all different worldviews based on that one thought process, that the world is the only one that exists. Whatever is ahead of us is the real world. The other part is, whatever we see, there is something beyond our senses, something that we cannot perceive. But there is definitely another world beyond this world. So under that, I wish I had a PowerPoint presentation. I didn't get time to present it. It would have been easier to explain it. So under that you have one section which says only spirituality is the real world. So physical world is not reality, but the spiritual world is the only reality that we have. So you should have access to that spiritual world. You meditate and you get to the spiritual world, that is reality. The physical world in front of you is just an illusion. So under that, it's called pantheism. Under that you have Buddhism, for example. So you go to the mountains and you master the art of meditation and have access to that spiritual world. So that is their worldview. The other one says, no, you have both. You have the physical world and you have the spiritual world. So under that again, they say, okay, there is one God, and there are others who say, no, there are many gods in the spiritual realm. So many gods, of course, is polytheism. One God is theism or deism. This is a new word that I got to learn. Deism is another worldview. So theism is belief in God. Deism is they believe in God, but they don't believe in a religion. There is no formal religion, there is no divine book, there is no revelation. You use your rationality to seek God. There is no formal guidance. So you can see how belief now affects your worldview. So under that, they have Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Sikhism, Baha'ism, surprisingly Rastafarianism also. Says Rastafarians also come under this category. So this is as far as religions are concerned. But what is happening in the world just now, if you want to understand, so for example, Hitler's ideology. Hitler, what was his belief system? And what was his worldview? If you understand that, then you'll understand his values and his actions and his symbols that he's left behind. So symbol of Nazism is the Nazi sign that we have. We all know about their actions which are ongoing. So you have the Nazis during the Second World War, and now the neo-Nazis who have a similar ideology. So you'll understand their actions and their values, what is right and what is wrong. So Hitler's belief was race and space. They simply put it as race and space. So race, he believed that the Aryan race is the chosen race. It's a superior race. And they have a right to compete or to eliminate the other races. They are the dominant race. And for them to grow, they need space. So race and space. And that's why he started invading other countries and prosecuting people under him, the Jews. And now the neo-Nazis have a similar ideology, that we are a superior race and everybody else is of an inferior race, and we have the right to do whatever we want. So they can kill, and for them it would be right. That explains their actions. The Ku Klux Klan in the US. So this is white supremacy. This is what they believe. So the different classes of society, whites are superior, African race are the lowest race. This is their belief. And they have a right to kill. And most of the actions explain it, how they attack the other races below them. Slavery, this explains slavery also. The RSS in India, Hindutva, coincidentally they also have a similar swastika symbol, that is their symbol. And if you see their actions and their values, what is right, what is wrong. But the belief system is Hindutva, the superiority of that faith and of that class, and they have a right to eliminate all the others. So Muslims don't have a right to live in India, for example. It's a faith-dominated place. So RSS in India, Zionism in Israel. So the symbol, of course, the Star of David, and we all know about their actions and their values. Their sense of right and wrong is very different from the rest of the world. Their belief system is we are the chosen people and Israel is the promised land. So for those of you who have seen the debate between Mehdi Hassan and Bennett, I think it was long back, it was almost 5 years back, even before he became the Prime Minister. And he says, I'll only change my ideology if you change the Bible. He tells Mehdi Hassan, you change the Bible and I'll change my ideology. So it's the promised land. So you can imagine, this is his belief. So this is his worldview. You can know the whole world is against us. The whole world is against us having our promised land, and we are the chosen people. And based on that, they have the values, and we can see their actions. So there are some Jews who don't agree with that because their faith is different. And of course, Iran and Hezbollah is another group of people. Now, if you've noticed the IRGC, for example, it would have easily been the Iranian Revolution Guard Corps, but it's the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps. Very important. They are not nationalistic. If it was only Iranian, it would have been restricted to the borders. But if you go through biographies of Shuhada or the Shadow Commander, for example, of Qasim Soleimani, it's been written by a Western author. And he mentions this, that any person who joins the IRGC usually has to go for a 3-month crash course just for his ideology. The faith, the belief has to be correct. And then based on that, you will have their values and their actions and their symbols. And you can see that. So Qasim Soleimani, Haji Qasim Shaheed, may Allah bless his soul. You have videos of him sitting with his soldiers prior to an attack, for example, in Iraq, and he briefs them as to what is halal and what is haram. Uprooting a tree is haram. Live alone the women and children. They are innocent. And if you feel that you'll have to kill them to achieve your goals, don't go. And there are so many stories whereby they tell you would have easily gone through a civilian population, killed so many people just to achieve our goals, but no, they were restricted. No, there are too many civilians here. We can delay it. And on the other side, you have the neo-Nazis today who are using women and children as human shields. These are their actions based on their beliefs. This is the actions of the IRGC based on their beliefs. So this is what needs to be promoted. So the significance of this worldview, belief system, values, actions, it's very important to understand this sequence. Why? Number one, it helps us to understand situations around us better. If our belief system is right, our worldview becomes better. So for example, the death that happened yesterday in the community, Marhum Ali, may Allah bless his soul. If a person doesn't have the right belief, the way they look at the death of a young, so there are so many people in the mosque, but the way you should look at that death of a young one, what mindset should we have? What worldview should we have? That God is not a zalim, He is not cruel, He doesn't do actions randomly. There is a plan behind it. And similarly, the political situation around us. So this was one isolated incident that happened in our society. So it's important to have the right belief system, to have the right worldview. Isolated here in our city, but even the political system, the political happenings around the world just now. if our belief system is not right, it's very likely that we'll have a wrong worldview. Not only that, but if it's weak, we will end up following what the media is feeding us with. So this is where I echo Sheikh Sakaleshwar's words. In Zanzibar, the course, I wasn't there, but the video, the very first session, he says that in Islam, everything is related to Tawheed. Everything has to be related to Tawheed. You're waking up, you're sleeping, you're sitting, you're studying, your business, you're walking, your ibadah, your acts of charity, your living and your dying is all based on Tawheed. And that's where aqaid comes in. If your belief system is right, it changes your worldview. And that's how he gradually took us to the coming of the 12th Imam, as to how he changed our worldview, the way we were looking at the arrival of the 12th Imam. But based on changing your belief only, your worldview changes. You know, the coming of the 12th Imam will be a different reality. It's not restricted to physical reappearance, but there will be a spiritual, there has to be a spiritual awakening for us to be able to understand, and that's a worldview. This is how we'll be able to see the world in a different way. So this is one significance. Number two, this is what we were told in the course, that when you have problems in a society, so be it a hijab problem, be it a family problem, be it an anger problem, be it an akhlaqi problem or a vice within the community, don't solve the problem individually. Don't try to solve the problem, but always go back to the root. So if you see a wrong action in society, don't just try to correct the action. No. Try to trace it back. What values are these actions based on? And what beliefs are these actions based on? So we need to go deeper. So don't only correct the action, always go back to the values. From the values, go back to the belief system. If you sort out that problem, you'll have a better solution rather than just shutting it down at that level. So this is a second significance of understanding this worldview, belief, values, action, and symbols system. And there may be more. So for this, I will open up the floor. I'm sure we can discuss it further, we can expand it. This is the biggest benefit of being in this Noor Center.